All right, what up, bro? So let's go ahead and just get right into it, man. Let the people know who you are, where you're from, and what's going on.
Right on. So I go by Thrasher. I'm not gonna put my real name out there, but yeah, I go by Thrasher. I was born in Dallas, Texas, and spent my childhood uh, split between Long Beach, California, with my dad, and Dallas, Texas, with my mom.
Okay. And so you did. You said you went in at 2008. In 2008, and you got out last year. You said.
Yeah, January last year.
Nice, man. I got out May last year. Congrats, man. It's nice to
Yeah,
see
you too,
you're
bro.
out. It's good to see
For
you're
sure.
staying out, man. You got out of the
Yeah,
level 4, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, man. Good to see you're staying out. But so man, so you ran with the NLRs in there, huh?
I did, and that's one of the reasons. I mean, that's part of the reason that I was wanting to do this with you because my situation's a little bit different than normal. So when I first got in with them, it was on the street,
Okay.
and it wasn't in California. It was in Texas. They run the same type of program that they do in California, in Texas. They're in a couple different states, bro, like California, Nevada, New Mexico, Arizona. They're not, California, Arizona. They're not as strong, and they're not. I mean, as you know, they're not really
Yeah.
allowed to be
Yeah.
on the yards there.
Yeah.
Texas, it's a little different. They're real strong there. They got a good, a solid hold in the institutions
Yeah.
and on the street. And so, yeah, I was a youngster, and I had some family members that were involved, and I wanted to get in. So, uh, I did the process, took the road to get in, and
Yeah.
so yeah, that's how it started for me. Um, was in Texas. Uh,
Man. So, dude, being a writer in California, uh, in the prison system, I have no clue. I mean, I knew the superficial part of like not allowed, but I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't necessarily want to say that you guys went S and Y though. Weren't you guys slammed for the longest?
Right. Yeah. So that's what it was. So when I originally kind of backing up a little bit, when I originally got to California, like I said, I was doing, as a youngster, I was going back and forth, and I actually uh, ran with uh, ran with some skinheads on the outside when I was a youngster in Long Beach, and that was my first exposure really to the NLR,
Yeah.
and the way the ride is, like I said, they're a little bit different than other organizations where they have a big, they don't necessarily have uh like for instance the mob has, the Serenios on the street. They
Yeah.
don't necessarily have that. It's a basically you start as a skinhead, and you work your way into it.
Yeah.
And they
Okay.
have what they call kids. So I started off as a kid, um, and like I said, I was put on in Texas. And when I came out to California, I actually when I first went in, they had already been slammed like years before, like decade before.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
uh, I was already told before I went in, put up on game, that you're not gonna. It's gonna be a lot different for you going in. They're probably gonna just send you straight up,
Yeah.
and that's how
Yeah.
it's gonna be. Because at the time, I mean, and we kind of I touched this with you. We talked a little bit about it before. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say on here, um, because I don't plan on going back. I have no, in my opinion,
Amen.
I'm still good, but I'm good for myself. And if other people watch this and they don't they want to say I'm no good, then I'm no good, because I don't,
That's right. That's right, bro. That's how it is. That's exactly what I live by, bro. Because if we live according to the next man's standard of whether or not we're good in their eyes, I don't think we'll ever really be good in our own eyes. Just my
right.
2 cents.
Yeah. So to answer your question, kind of got, a little bit, that my
It's
first
okay.
video.
It's okay. I'm probably gonna do a part two or part three, if, depending on how long we go with this. But
Right.
I really want to get into this one, bro. I really want to understand, what it was like going through reception, hitting the line, how fast they pulled you off the line. Just, and then I want to touch on what you wanted to clarify as far as the common ground that no goods all share
Right.
that aren't really no good, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we talked about, before we got on this back and forth, because originally, you have a lot of haters, bro. No doubt. And originally I wasn't, making videos about you like, we know who we're talking about, but uh or nothing like that. But I kind of was jumping on that bandwagon. I was like, yeah, fuck him. He's a
Yeah,
piece of
yeah,
shit, whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But when you really think about it, and when me and you talked, after me and you talked, I chopped it up with some people who are like me, who were never made no good, but kind of understand how your situation was. And some of my older homies basically told me, hey man, it was pretty much the same way for us. Like,
Exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
my organization, I say my organization, I'm not a member anymore, I'm not active, so but I'm still going to speak on it.
Yeah.
um we were taking, before I got to California, we were at war with the brand, and that was basically over um a situation where it all started over our politics and how we ran stuff. We allowed um, what they would call half breeds in our organization. We were
You ever heard?
allowing
You
half
ever
Mex.
heard? You ever heard of some guy named Midnight from Ontario?
That sounds familiar. I would have to see like
Hey,
him
the
personally.
dude, the dude is browner than me with the swastika.
Right, right, yeah. And there's a lot of writers that are like that, bro.
Yeah,
There's a lot of writers that are like that. And like I said, in the early days of it, the 80s and the early 90s, it was all good with us and the brand. And then eventually it got to where they were kind of pushing real hard for us to change our politics as far as how who we allowed to come in. And to be honest with you, bro, like for me, um, my wife is Hispanic. My kids are half, and so I was never. It's kind of like a get in where you fit in originally. That for me, that's how
yep.
it started.
Yeah, yeah,
But I never had any really crazy racist views or any
yeah.
crazy shit like that. The neighborhood, my neighborhood in Long Beach and in North Texas, bro, they were both
Pretty
uh,
diverse.
primarily Hispanic. And
Yeah,
the dude I ran with on the street before, I really got serious about shit, we're all Southsiders.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it was kind of a natural progression. But yeah, to kind of get back to what we were talking about, when I first went in to the California system, I had this expectation of I knew I was gonna have to start running it with everybody. I knew it. I knew even my own people.
Yep.
There's another
Especially.
yeah. So there's another guy that makes videos who I'm not gonna drop his name, but he talks a lot of politics and stuff like that. And he was talking about how uh, in his state, because the brand basically gave the ride a green light, that all the whites were having to get off on us, and that's basically how it worked. So I wasn't even necessarily cool with my own people,
Yeah.
um, and knowing that and going in, um, I I'm not a big dude. I'm in my 30s, but I look really young, and so I knew with that and the fact of my affiliation that I probably wasn't going to be cool with anybody, and
Yeah.
that's how it was. So I basically got them before they got me,
Yeah.
and because of that, and because of me coming in with validation points in the first place, it eventually landed me on.
Straight to the back.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And
So
so, when you first got snatched off the line, where did they send you? What shoe?
it was Pelican Bay. Yeah. So it was the Sea House, which I think now it's changed.
Yeah.
I think they don't put I don't really know how it is
Now
exactly
it's
now, but
empty.
yeah,
Now it's
yeah.
empty.
So they don't even. Right, right. So yeah, I knew it was that, or they had somebody, they put other people in there or whatever. But yeah, that's where I was,
That's right.
and I spent a year there,
Okay.
and eventually worked my way out of it. And but I mean, I did my own thing. You know, I ran the program that I was taught to run, but like I said, it was kind of it was kind of me against everybody else, even with my own people.
Yeah.
You know, the good thing is I knew some people from the streets, and they knew, they knew I was solid. So there was some places I touched down where I was at first okay,
Yeah.
but then, they, it was never them moving me off because I rolled it up myself or whatever, or PC'd. It was always me taking off on somebody because I
Yeah.
knew it was about to happen to me.
Yeah.
So
So let me ask you, so now that the shoes are practically empty, they're all emptied out, especially you just got it last year, I got it last year. We basically kind of knew what was going on with the shoe. They were shutting that shit down. So, for the most part. So people who are slammed, what happened with the riders? Were they just integrated back into these yards? Have they been thrown back onto these yards, or are they still slammed
no,
somewhere?
most of them are slammed in the feds, bro. I mean,
Oh,
it was kind of the same deal. I mean, I'm sure obviously, they started doing it to the brand members, everybody, the brand started in Cali, um, and then spread from there when they started slamming the doors on them
yeah,
and putting them into the feds. And then next it was the NLR, and then next it was another organization that kind of came up, and they're being slammed too. So, uh, for me, I never, I was under the radar, but I wasn't. So I never had to get taken to a fed yard or anything like that. They just
yeah,
kind of kept moving me around.
yeah.
Something would happen, and I'd have to be moved somewhere else. Um, in reality, if you want to get technical, I would say that I was SNY without being SNY. I think that's the best way to, you know
I
what I
love
mean?
that.
Like,
I love that shit. Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean, bro. I know what you mean. Well, see, let me actually, there's a group. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard it so many times that the Bulldogs are. A lot of people see them as dropouts because of what
right.
their situation was. They were affiliated with the North, cut ties with the North, and it's been on and cracking forever. And they have their own yards, but for the most part, especially now. They were programming for a little while until all this shit just happened last year or so with the Sud and them. But they're SNYs without the SNY chrono in a lot of people's eyes. I'm not saying that's what they are. I'm just saying that's what a lot of people drop in my comment section. That's what I hear all the time, bro.
Yeah, and I actually know, you know, from over the years, I actually know a couple Bulldogs, and that's exactly what it is. And I always kind of related to them because
Yeah.
of that situation. Because anytime an organization or a group of people break off from a bigger organization, and they're basically like, "Fuck you," for the longest time, there was a group within my organization called FTB. That was the first, like, and I mean, FTB means fuck the brand, but
Yeah. Okay.
basically it's those are the first group of guys out from the riders that were saying, we're not going to follow brand politics anymore. We're going to do our own thing, and that's what basically kicked it all off. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what the Bulldogs did. I don't, they're so vicious, bro. They're at each other. They
They
put,
go at it with each other bad,
yeah, they
bro.
put it on
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where that's how my mindset was. If you never met me, if I never told you my story, and you met me on the street, I'm just Joe Blow, whatever. You know what I mean? But because of that, I had to take it to the next level.
Exactly.
When I was in, and I'm thankful that I never caught a life sentence for it. I always got lucky,
Yep.
but you know, I I was prepared to do. I was prepared to
Exactly.
get the death
Exactly.
penalty, bro.
Exactly.
That. That's how I looked at it.
Let me ask you, man. This is crazy how these similarities they're just running parallel.
Right.
Um, okay, so let's say Brand puts the light on the riders. You guys are strong. You guys are sick with it. You guys are strong. You guys are ready to go. But even you guys could not bend the will of this decision that was made on these GP mainline yards.
Right.
So people always tell me in my comment section, bro, they're always like, uh, why couldn't you stay? Or why couldn't you fight? Why couldn't you, as if they expected me to prevail over the will of something so big and so powerful. They
Right.
expect that from one man, but when I look at the situation of with your organization, it's like if your organization couldn't do it, what the hell makes people think that one man, yeah, I could go to a lot of yards and I could do what you did and get off, or I could take a removal after removal after removal, and then maybe if I get lucky, I can pay a certain amount of money and be okay. Um,
Right.
but other than that, hearing your story, hearing what you're saying, man, it just goes to show that no one man alone, when you're screwed, you have no option. You can get off as many times as you possibly can, but if an organization can't win and prevail to stay on the lines, not because the riders didn't go out backwards in any shape or form. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
Right.
in order to still solidify their place on every yard in California, they were unable to do that. So what makes people think that one person can do that? I don't condone I don't condone about 80 to 90% of S and Y, all that other trash in there, right? But there's a lot of
Right.
people that end up with okay, just before I got out, I had been hearing about a lot of changes within the organization that I was a part of, which was they were allowing people that were S and Y homies, as long as the situation wasn't too bad and they no funny paperwork, to come back, right? To either pay
Right.
or to put in work to come back. Just the fact that they're doing that is the ultimate admission, right? Of letting people know, like, we know we fucked up and we know we put a lot of good people on that side, and if you're willing to, we'll take you back, and it's still at a price, so it's not worth it, but it's for those people that I get on YouTube and I speak for. People say, hey, you're done with prison, you dropped out, why are you still talking on it? Well, because there's a life inside prison that people don't really understand and give any type of credit, or not even credit, just some type of time. Like, just take a second, hear this side out before you cast this big old judgment over everybody. Because if everybody knew that 10% of S and Y that still lives a certain life that was forced this way or had no chance, um, I just think it would be I think it would be a little more easier to communicate between good and no good.
Right. No, I completely agree with you.